This is the Karoo, a vast semi-arid place 3 times the size of Great Britain. It appears barren and lifeless. A landscape of dry, rocky plains, sparse vegetation, and rugged, boulder-strewn mountains. Called by its early human inhabitants the Great Dry, it has many secrets to reveal. The Karoo covers an area of 250,000 square miles and occupies most of the inner landmass of the Cape Province of South Africa. The first peoples of this land left evidence in art of their lives here. Of animals they encountered and hunted with simple weapons, a life in balance with their natural world. From their lookouts, they watched and selected their prey, a single animal sufficient for their needs. In their time, these plains teemed with game of many kinds. These humans posed no lasting threat to the ability of the Karoo to sustain them and all other life. In this dry land of uncertain rainfall, the nomadic life was best, and there was space enough for it. When game migrated, the hunters followed, and those who were herdsmen also had space. Overgrazed veldt had time to recover as animals moved on. But then came the biggest change in the Karoo since the Ice Age, the arrival of the European colonists. They could not resist the temptation to exploit the seemingly inexhaustible supplies of game. Drought-driven migrations would result in huge herds making their way through the new settlements of the Karoo. Eyewitnesses record that mixed herds of wildebeest, blesbok, springbok, quaggas, and eland took as much as 3 days to move through a single town. In time, they were all but eradicated by thoughtless greed and gunpowder. But the slaughter of the game was not the most decisive influence in the Karoo. What changed it forever was that the Europeans brought their stock animals with them. They could not be left to wander, and the miles of fences erected to confine them confined the game too. The great migrations were no more. The veldt was now damaged by these hungry newcomers, and in places, plant communities were changed forever. So the Karoo is different now, but no less fascinating. In spite of the impact of farming, the natural limitations imposed by climate, the heat, the cold, the long droughts, there is much of wonder and surprise to reveal in this secret part of Africa. And there are still game animals here, and in increasing numbers, as their commercial value to the modern farmer is recognized. There are great success stories too. Although seen only in special reserves, this Cape Mountain zebra was saved from certain extinction in recent years. It now qualifies as one of the rarest animals in the world. The population was down to a few individuals, but now the numbers are increasing and the species is secure. The Cape Mountain zebra is both smaller and lighter than its plains relative, but also more cautious and more aggressive. Though more at home on the mountain grasslands, it can still be found lower down, especially when need dictates. A rapidly drying water pan draws both common and uncommon visitors to its dwindling refreshment. The Karoo favors opportunists like this grey heron, taking advantage of the misfortune of the frogs to be in increasingly shallow water. In parts of the Karoo, droughts can last for years, so this could be the last chance of a good drink for some time. Even so, there are other things to attend to. Ostriches are not popular with farmers because they damage both veld and fencing. But they can be found on the plains, especially in the game parks and reserves. The Karoo's climate is harsh and unpredictable. Clouds may build up many times and then not fulfill their promise. In summer, temperatures may rise to 40 degrees centigrade and plummet to -10 on a winter's night. Extremes like these may also be experienced over a single day and night. But it is mostly a land of dryness and heat. In daytime, only these larger mammals will be seen. This alone gives rise to the false view that the Karoo is an empty place. A red hartebeest calf strays from its mother to take a last drink. Its wariness may be a throwback from the time when lions and hyenas lived here. Predators have now been largely eradicated or controlled, so it has little to fear. The sociable hartebeest was once widespread, and through reintroduction, it can now be seen once again. Although taking advantage of the last puddles of freestanding water, they are not dependent upon a regular supply. Finally, a grey reebok, its thick woolly coat revealing its preference for the mountains, is here too, as if sensing the coming drought. And for the heron, the banquet is almost over. One of the Karoo's black eagles circles in search of a meal. Its flight is among the mountains and kopjes, these conical hills so characteristic of this place. No bird has greater command of this airspace, the winds and updrafts providing the uniquely shaped wings with the lift they need. A troop of baboons, common in the Karoo Mountains, is alarmed by the eagle, but a klipspringer on its precipitous vantage point has other disturbances to cope with. Pale-winged starlings looking for parasites, and a rock hyrax. And it is the plentiful rock hyrax, known here as the dassie, which is the eagle's preferred food. The dassie and the eagle have developed fascinating strategies, born of their long relationship as prey and predator. The eagle may appear to have lost interest and turned away, but that's a deception. It won't be gone long. The dassie's guinea pig-like appearance belies its true kinship. It is, in fact, related to the elephant, and does have several special features to help it cope with its potentially hazardous situation. The eagle is back, using what cover it can for its second attempt. The first of the dassie's adaptations are the moist pads on its feet, which enable it to clamber with safety amongst these rocks and to scatter speedily for cover. The eagle now tries to flush them out, but a strategically placed sentinel is aware of this new move. And if the eagle should try coming out of the sun, the dassie has a uniquely shaped pupil which reduces the sun's intensity and denies the eagle the full value even of this clever move. Bridal's gecko cleans its eye, and a small spotted genet wakes up for breakfast. At last there is the promise of rain. A large sun spider, called a rooiman in the Karoo, sets about excavating its hole. A primitive spider, it is credited with the most powerful jaws for its size in the animal kingdom, and with them it crunches up the largest of armored insects. The zorilla, or striped polecat, approaches its prey with care. Little surprise when the juicy morsel is a scorpion. In this dry place, it will not only provide protein, but much needed moisture as well. Though tolerant to the scorpion's venom, the zorilla nonetheless takes the precaution of biting off the sting first. Last night's storm brought no relief to the dry land. A young Cape fox is on the lookout for a final snack before retiring for the day. Meanwhile, a whistling rat stocks its larder for the time when it will find it too hot to be outside. The stored water in these succulents will meet its need in the absence of other supplies. The rat's alarm whistle warns others in the colony of the danger they face. The fox doesn't have an easy task. The extensive workings of the colony provide many lookouts and bolt holes. This time, the fox must make do with a toktoki beetle. The land is still parched, but at last there is tension in the air. The pronking of springbok may be used to demonstrate its fitness and to confuse a predator. But today, it seems to be for sheer excitement. It could rain at last. To add to the spectacle, a fold of skin is opened across the rump and back. An agama lizard catches the first drops in case it doesn't last. A tent tortoise tips itself to bring long-awaited water to its mouth. As the rain may not persist, what there is must be collected quickly. The Karoo is a land of extremes. Dried-up riverbeds fill rapidly, and there are casualties. A mountain tortoise. the veldt greens quickly, and the unusual event of standing water is welcome. A vervet monkey soon takes advantage of the situation. For the animals, and more still the plants of the Karoo, to be fully revived after drought, several days of rain are needed. When this does occur, the veldt is quickly transformed. The plants of the Karoo have developed in such a way that, like the animals, they can make a rapid response to the newly available moisture. And it's the rain, more than the season or temperature, which is important in this area. The Karoo has more kinds of tortoise than anywhere else in the world. And this tent tortoise, so called because of the cone shapes on its shell, is eager to feast on the flowers. The new vitality of the land is a cue to courtship for many, like this male agama lizard, displaying his finery to a singularly disinterested mate. Amongst the kopjes in various parts of the Karoo, the spectacular aloes are in bloom. Nowhere else on the African continent can zebras be seen like this. But the ample rains of this season have led to an explosion of another kind. These are the flightless hoppers of the brown locust. The eggs may have been dormant for decades, but following good rains, the ground again floods, but this time with insects. Their solitary kin, like this elegant grasshopper, are engulfed. And the agamas begin a banquet to which many will be attracted. A stone cricket cannot escape the rush. bands of hoppers are the largest seen here in 60 years. A rain-triggered development as impressive as this will have stimulated plant growth to match, and balance is maintained. These hoppers will do no long-term damage to the Karoo and may be of value to the veld. It's where they might end up when they fly which causes concern. There is little waste in the Karoo. Even the dead and dying become a meal. The bands become a horde. Their strength is in numbers, and nothing stands in their way. A giant African bullfrog will take its fill, but make no impression on the advance of the redcoats, as they are locally known. The frog has had easy pickings, but others may have traveled for hundreds of miles to partake in the feast. These white storks, migrants from Europe, have larger appetites than the frog, but even they will not noticeably delay the advance of the hoppers. The freedom of movement enjoyed by the storks is now to be matched by the locusts. But in spite of their newfound power of flight, they still fall victim to yet another set of hungry mouths. These are wattled starlings, and their liking for locusts has gained them the name of locust birds here in the Karoo. Their nesting time coincides with the rains, if they come, and with a bumper harvest like this, they do live up to their name. The Karoo acacia, in which they build their rambling multi-storied nests, may house many hundreds of pairs of starlings. And there will be greater success in raising their young when there's an abundance like this. The huge, fierce thorns provide protection from predators, but they can also be a terrible hazard. The locusts are now flying more strongly and forming larger swarms. As they move away from the starling colony, the adult birds may find it too difficult to go out and retrieve them. So the feast is almost over. Even a bonanza as rich as this must come to an end. Many chicks have fledged, even if there are a few who haven't made it. And the rain-driven abundance reveals a network of interdependence, which is the Karoo. The Karoo now returns to its harsher normality, but still has another surprise. The acacia has blossomed. Beneath the dry land, in underground reservoirs, water is stored, but only deep-rooted trees like the acacia can reach it. Whatever the drought state, this tree will bloom, providing a predictable food supply when all else has failed. The farmers have also learned to draw up the groundwater. Their extensive activities would not otherwise be possible. And it's not just the stock animals that benefit. Nearly all the Karoo is taken up with huge farms. The few predatory animals, which do remain, are not welcome and are often destroyed indiscriminately. Perhaps the most persecuted of all is the lynx, or caracal. There is claim and counterclaim about the real impact on the sheep that any of the so-called problem animals have. Modern farming in the Karoo is increasingly influenced by natural sciences like conservation and ecology. This farm is applying a poison collar, which can very selectively and humanely kill a single rogue caracal if it attacks the lamb. Not for him the extermination of a species. There are a few places where full protection is given to animals and plants. One such is the Karoo National Park. It was established in 1979 by the Parks Board, with help from the local council. It covers 30,000 hectares. Along with the springbok, it is here that another rare mammal is seen, the black wildebeest. Closely related to the blue wildebeest, it is smaller and lighter than its better-known cousin. It was almost wiped out by hunting last century, but by means of conservation, it is becoming well established again. But it is not by the visitors that the tranquility of this supposed haven is at times rudely disturbed. The Karoo can never be restored to what it was. And even here in a national park, the game is confined. And to prevent overgrazing, there must be culling and translocation on a regular basis. It is done with great care, given economic restraints. But nonetheless, the park will take months to settle from this disturbance. Scenes like these will be repeated until much more land can be added to the park. And even then, it is likely to be necessary. An elusive, rarely seen animal, the aardwolf, emerges from its daytime burrow. Its similarity to the hyena is deceptive. Although it is a carnivore, it feeds almost exclusively on termites, and its teeth make it incapable of dealing with flesh. A black-footed cat justifies its alternative name, anthill tiger, as it peers from a termite mound. These large-eared mice are clearly in danger. Little is known about this rare relative of the domestic cat. It is the smallest feline in the region, but its size belies its ferocity. It's winter in the Karoo, and animals that normally hide from the sun are making the most of its morning rays. Unusually, this family of meerkats are sharing their home with a yellow mongoose. The call of Karoo korans, small members of the bustard family, and found only here, is the herald of the morning in all seasons. Overnight, the mountains have seen snowfall. It can snow in the Karoo at any time, especially in those areas affected by weather from the Antarctic. But here it may not last for long. As winter moves to spring, the black eagle's need to kill becomes more urgent. It now has more than its own needs to consider. This time, there must be no mistake. This secret corner of Africa, with its unique and beautiful community of living things, needs protection for the sake of those people who live here, for those who visit, but above all, for its own intrinsic value.